What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today we are talking about Warhammer 40k once again. We will be diving into the nerfs, the buffs, and the resculpts for the first army that I ever played on the tabletop, and that is none other than the Tau Empire. So this is a little 3-episode series where I talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about my armies that I play, but their shift into 9th edition. So we've got quite a few games of 9th edition under our belts, and it's really fun. I really enjoy this edition much more than 8th for two things specifically. One, stratagems. The stratagems are key in making things fun. The amount of tactics and crazy scenarios you can have on the field is just amazing. Number two, because it's a new edition, so you're trying out new things, new models. It's like a fresh, clean slate, and nobody really knows what's really good, what's really bad, and you see a bunch of bizarre scenarios. So this is more of a kind of not really tactical, but just like an overview as to what models, what abilities these models for the Tau Empire have been getting to kind of keep in mind, because of course this is pre 9th edition codices, so we don't know if any of these things are going to change when the codex drops. Obviously the Space Marines have a new codex coming out alongside the Necrons in October, but we don't know when any other Necrons, any other codices are dropping for that matter. So take this little good, bad, ugly scenario thing with grains of salt, because they could change tomorrow. So without further ado, let's dive into the nerfs. So one of the biggest things to change in 9th edition is no more Overwatch. That hurt the Tau tremendously, because the Tau can bring horrendous amounts of firepower, and their ability for the greater good allows other units to be able to fire Overwatch as long as they're within 6 inches of a unit that's being targeted to be charged. So let's say you've got some squishy blobs of fire warriors that are going to get charged by some corn berserkers. Yeah, they could Overwatch and maybe take out 1 or 2, but now usually you're castling them up. You've got 2, maybe even 3 more squads that can all put in their Overwatch into that squad to really decimate them before they can even make it into close combat. So that was a key scenario for really a bunch of armies, but more so for the Tau because of how they can tag team into Overwatch. And 9th edition hit and they said, nope, that is a stratagem now. So you have to pay 1 command point to fire Overwatch, and you can only do it once per phase, because that's how stratagems work. So the Tau was really gutted at that. And then the next day came and they said, you know what, you Tau players, you keep your Overwatch for every unit, no matter what. So nothing really changed for us Tau players there, but it did change for every other army. So, I mean, we dodged a bullet, but at the same time, I don't even know if it's really... No, yeah, it is. It's a huge buff for the Tau. I can't put it any other way. Especially if you're castling up, you definitely want to make sure you're doing your for the greater goods to fire Overwatch. I don't know if it's still a stratagem. I would assume not, because then you wouldn't be able to have others teaming into your... Yeah, it's not a stratagem for the... Or it's not a command point for the Tau to do this. They can just do it for free, which is really good. We got severely nerfed and then buffed just like that in the blink of an eye. However, if you guys did catch my top 3 units of Tau in 8th edition, I put Crisis Suits as the number 3 because of all the buffs they got. But then 9th edition came and they said, you know what, we're taking away the fly keyword. Like, it no longer does what you think it does. So that kind of hurt all Tau battlesuits, because usually when you got charged, you didn't kill anything in Overwatch, you're pretty much guaranteed to die. Like, battlesuits do not survive combat. But you have the fly keyword, so you can literally just fly out of combat and then just rain hell on the enemy. No longer the case. I mean, the fly keyword does not let you just move out of combat anymore. So now you have to use other stratagems to fall back and whatnot to allow the rest of your army to shoot and decimate the squad. Kind of sucks because now where crisis suits were a big thing, maybe we're not going to see them so much because the whole you get stuck in combat and you're screwed. So that is a huge, huge nerf. RIP fly keyword, RIP battle suits. But we do have a few things to look forward to. One being that the battle mat size is getting a little smaller, so that means that like usually Tau, they're not really good at the long game in terms of firepower. They're more midfield. Like most of their weapons are about 18 to like 36 inches, usually 24 is like the average. So they're good at the mid game, and now that the board's a little bit smaller, there's going to be more things to shoot at, more targets that you could ping with your marker lights and whatnot. But at the same time, it's easier for your opponent to get into combat faster. So if you're not careful at target priority, you could be shooting a lot of things, but if you can't kill off entire squads, they're going to get to your lines, you're going to get charged, and it's pretty much game over for Tau at that point. I mentioned castling earlier. It is not something you should be doing with the Tau anymore because 9th edition is a game of objectives. The person who takes the objectives early and keeps them usually wins the game. So Tau have to be more mobile. That's when you want to bring in more devilfish. I didn't see very many devilfish in 9th edition or 8th edition. Piranhas might be a thing nowadays. Deep striking, that was always a tactic with the Tau. But yeah, like you want to really focus on your objectives. Secondaries, you really are saved from the psychic ones, since you have no psychers in the Tau. It sucks if you're playing Grey Knights or Thousand Suns, because that's basically a free 15 points to your opponent. But yeah, Tau don't have to worry about that one at least. So yeah, it's another thing to just keep in mind that, objectives are key in 9th edition. Also, just bring a painted and based army. It gives you a free 10 points, which could turn, a losing game into a winning game with those 10 points, because you never know. You never know. And then we come to the segment that I like to call the ugly or the ReSculpt, where I talk about models that really need an upgrade. When I talked about the Grey Knights, Stern was just one that was like really old. I believe it was still metal, and it just wasn't good enough. I also talked about if Grey Knights needed Primaris. When we talked about Chaos, Chaos has a slew of ugly models. Look at the Mutilators. But at the same time, they got a whole bunch of great ones. We got Lord Discordant, the new Abaddon. So now that we come to the Tau, their line is looking pretty sweet. Like, there's a new ReSculpt for Shadow Sun, which I thought she didn't really need one. Crisis Suits got a revamp not too long ago. We've been getting like the Ghost Keel. Literally, when you look at the Tau line, they're all pretty new and pretty sleek looking. However, you come to their auxiliaries, and that's where it's lacking. The newest Kroot model was the one from the Blackstone Fortress, which I think it's okay. Like, it could easily replace Shapers, because these Shapers are pretty bad. They're pretty old, kind of a static pose. But where it comes to me, where the attention is needed is for the Vespid, because you bring in auxiliaries such as the Vespid that aren't really good. Nobody really plays Vespid for that matter, and there's only one unit. Like, there's no HQ Vespid. There's just that fast attack, and that's it. Kroot, you at least have a little bit more room to play. You've got troops, you've got Shapers, Kroot Hounds, Kroot Tox, and then you come to RIP, the Forge World section of the Kroot, that had those awesome bird-like T-Rexes. I forget what their names are, but those things were amazing. I just love the whole atmosphere of them. The whole, like, it's just, everything was cool about them. You could have Kroot sitting or riding them. You could have them use this like a heavy weapons battery. They just looked awesome, but I think they're not a thing anymore. Forge World has said goodbye. Kroot. We're moving on to better and new things, which kind of sucks, but maybe they get a ReSculpt or they get a port over to 40k. Because at one point the Groot actually had a codex, and then they went away with it and became auxiliaries for the Tau, and it sucks. I really do want to see the Groot become their own race. I can't wait to see like what other type of units they have, like what heavy support options they would have, what fast attack options they would have. Because you do have some pretty awesome lore for the crew. Like their homeworld Peck is pretty awesome. They could easily take things from like the Skaven, because they share a lot of similarities. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, you kind of have like a Native American vibe with the crew, and it's a very cool aesthetic that I wish could be expanded more on. Same thing with the Vespid. To see these like arachnoid creatures on the battlefield that aren't necessarily Tyranids would be really badass. But I don't know. We just have to wait and see, because usually when Tau get an update, it's for Tau. It's either Ethereals, Fire Warriors, suits, that kind of deal. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, for now, I think the Tau are sitting in a very good position with Overwatch not being taken from them. It's like, yes, battlesuits took a hit, but at the same time, it's we have to wait and see when the codex drops, because usually points are going up in 9th edition, so that means smaller armies. But I think the Tau still have a good shot at doing good. The whole tactic with shield drones, taking wounds, riptides are still beasts, especially that they could shoot in combat now. Yeah, it's looking good for Tau. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. And if you didn't catch the other two, good, bad, ugly videos for Chaos and Grey Knights, I'll link them at the end so you guys can check it out. And that's all I got for today. Once again, guys, I am the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I will be catching you guys in the next one. Peace.